Welcome to Leadership Speaking Radio, the podcast for leaders and change makers who want to learn how to communicate with impact, authenticity, and human connection to their peers, teams, and customers in order to build better relationships, better their bottom lines, and become better leaders. My name is Dr. Laura Penn, and I'm the founder of the Leadership Speaking School, and I'm your host. Visit my website, theleadershipspeakingschool.com, to find out more about how we can support you to show up as the best version of yourself every time you speak. Now, let's get straight into our topic. Welcome back, everyone. It is a total delight to return to you all with a brand new episode of Leadership Speaking Radio. This is episode number 61, and I'm calling it Building Community Through Communication. Yes, yes, yes. 2025 is upon us, and I've got some real clarity about this year, both how I want to show up personally and professionally, and how I want to support the leaders and teams and change makers that I work with to show up in front of their peers, teams, and stakeholders. I want to support them to communicate and build community. And that's why I thought it would be valuable to launch into this topic with you here today and to really unpack what this means when it comes to leadership communication. What is involved in building community through communication? Well, let's begin with some definitions. Let's go into the Latin root of the word communicate and community, right? Which is communis. Now, that first part, C-O-M or C-U-M in Latin, means together and among each other. And that later part of the word, the munis, means gift. So if you put the word community and or the word communication together, what it literally means is gifting among each other. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that just gorgeous language to really represent what community means and what communication does? So that's how I want to start things out in this episode. And I'd like you to self-reflect for a minute. What is your community like in your personal life? What is your community like in your work life? And what is your community like in your world life? Those are the three perspectives that I want you to listen to this episode through. And to really understand that communication fits into each one of those lives for you, maybe similarly, maybe differently, depending on who is in those communities with you. So let's go even further in now and think about community itself. Again, you've got the perspective of my community in my personal life, my work life, and my world life. Community, a group of humans together, doing things, moving things forward, moving things with purpose, doing what needs to be done over and over again to get things finished, to ready themselves, maybe even to help make the world a better place. Whatever that community is doing, I want to remind you that we humans are designed for community. It's our superpower to communicate in our communities. And our extraordinary evolution as creatures on this planet comes with our superpowers of communication. And you've heard me say this before. You've heard me talk about how your instrument, your body, is that superpower. From head to toe, everything about how you are designed, from the fact that you are hairless, right? And can sense and feel and touch, from the point of view of your eyes being forward, right? Instead of to the side. From the point of view of you having hair on top of your head, your tongue and how it's placed in your mouth so that you can make sounds. I mean, all of it. Your entire design from head to toe is designed to communicate with your fellow human beings in your communities. And you know as well as I do why this is. Because it's together as a community that we humans survive. It's together that we move things forward. And it's so interesting in this day and age, and I wonder if you feel this way too, but it's become so individualistic. It's really the me show that's taken front and center stage. It's really this sense of I am alone and I am doing everything alone, and this isolation and loneliness is becoming a problem in and of itself, right? And it's such a big problem that it is hurting our communities. Young people have never been more alone and isolated than today. Even people of other generations, this loneliness is hurting us because we are designed as communal creatures. And you know as well as I do that so many of the causes of this isolation and loneliness come from being on screens too much. Having a, quote, social life on social media is anything but social because you're sitting there alone in a room with a gadget in your hands. You're not using your instrument. You're not communicating the way you're designed. And when you take this kind of communication online for your meetings that you have professionally, in your professional life, your work life, you know what this feels like. That feeling of disengagement from everybody. That feeling of just talking heads floating there on the screen and no real use of that communication instrument that is longing to be used. And if I may say so, that the people who you are speaking to are yearning to watch because our eyes in the front are designed to see this, to take in every micro nuance of what is going on, of how you move your fingers, of the pace of your speaking, right? Our ears are listening, our senses are engaged. Everything is designed for this switch on for communication. But what are we doing? We're editing it out. We're numbing it. We're neglecting it. We're leaving it in a place in history. So my call to action is, as always, when communicating, do more of what makes you human. And you can listen to that episode in the library of Leadership Speaking Radio episodes to find out more specifically. But listen, I digress a little bit. Back to community. We are designed to communicate in our communities because it's what bonds us. It's what makes us come together as a group so that we can survive together. If you go way back into our ancient history, those hunters in the continent of Africa that came out of the rainforest to gather and to hunt could not have hunted alone. We hunted as a community. We gathered as a community. We survived as a community. And you know what? And what I think of every now and then, and it always shocks me and makes me really humble, we haven't evolved much since that time. It's still the same design. So while our world has evolved at lightning speed, technology has become the next fourth industrial revolution, right? It's interesting the contrast between that high pace of change and our extremely slow pace of evolution. We're still the same creature. And as such, there's a mismatch. As such, there's this tension between hyper innovation and technology and hyper non-evolution, kind of staying where we were from the beginning. That tension is felt in the communication that I explained earlier on, especially when we see it online, especially when we edit ourselves out when we are talking on our screens. So let's get detailed now about what we can do in our communities to communicate better. At the heart of communicating better in your work life in particular, is caring about the people who are in your midst. Whether this is your colleagues or your team members or your stakeholders or customers, caring is at the core of effective communication to build community. At the heart of it, all those people that I just mentioned want to feel, when you are talking to them, heard, seen, and valued. And if you think about it, it's what all of us want. In the very heart of the matter, when we are among other people, we unconsciously ask ourselves, do you hear me? Do you see me? Am I valuable? This is what we are yearning for in our communities. And this is what communication supports us to do. So I want to break down the things that you can amplify and elevate as a communicator in your community by using the magic word care. Each letter in this word means something that you can apply to enhancing how you communicate in your community. Are you ready? The C of care is going to stand for connect. Now, you may remember from many, many episodes back how often I talk about connection. How I talk about leadership communication is about connecting authentically and consciously, right, with the people you are speaking to. Connection is everything related to leadership speaking. And that's why it's the first letter, connect. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know a lot of the ways that I recommend that you connect. The first way, of course, is to be present, fully there, in the moment, at the ready, with the people who you are talking to. And a really important way to become present is to warm up your body and your voice before you communicate with others. And in many episodes, I teach you how to do that. So I'm not going to talk a lot about that here. But I want to point this out because it's in that warm-up that you prepare your instrument, your body. It's in that warm-up that you loosen the tension. Remember, tension is the enemy of connection. And you don't want that tension. It's something that is a barrier between you and your audience when you have it. It's that hard mask that is worn that limits the energy that can come out. And we don't hear what you say through your voice. You're not breathing properly. Everything is tense, right? So tension needs to be removed. You do this through warming up. And you know I like to talk about Spotify playlists. Spotify playlists, create one for a warm-up. Anything from 5 to 10 minutes. Put your favorite songs in there and move. Go somewhere, a bathroom stall, a hallway that's abandoned, in your office with the door closed and the blinds down. Just move your body. When you do, you release this tension so that when you're done with that warm-up, you come out and you can begin your interaction with the people you're speaking to from a place of presence, from a place of readiness and preparedness to connect. So that's the first letter that we are talking about here in how you can communicate to build community. That letter C in the word care, connect. Now, the second letter, A, in the word care, is going to stand for attitude. And in many episodes, you have heard me talking about it's not about you, it's about your audience. Does that sound familiar? This is a mindset. At the end of the day, this is a way to show up. It's a way to think about why you are in that room on that day with those people talking about that subject. It's a way for you to kind of just prepare your whole being for what you're about to do. And it's in remembering this sentence, it's not about me, it's about my audience, that allows you to serve them. Yeah, serve, to give. Remember that root of the word community, communis, gift? Yes? And remember what I've said before, that a presentation has a hidden word in it, present, as in being present, and giving a gift. Yeah, it's all the same thing, and it all belongs in this A section, yeah? Attitude. So you're coming in warmed up and ready to serve. You're coming into this communication moment in your community with peers, teams, stakeholders, whomever you're talking to. You're coming in with the mindset of an open heart. You're coming in with, I am here to give you something. And let me tell you, when that happens, when you come in like that, it's like fresh air on a summer's day coming in through the open windows with the curtains gently billowing in the breeze. This is truth. This is pure. This is good. So having this attitude of giving, gift, this helps you to show up as somebody who's not there to get something, but somebody who is there to give something. So that's now our second letter. We've got the C for connect. We've got the A for attitude. Let's get to the R, shall we? The R is going to stand for rehearse. And man, if you know anything about me in this podcast, you know that I say that preparation is key. You can't have your cake and eat it too. In other words, you can't have a stunning, remarkable, connecting speaking performance without preparing it. Because leadership speaking, aka leadership communication, is a performing art, right? This is not news if you've been listening to me for a while. It's a performance art. And as I've done before, I want to remind you that any performer worth their salt would never perform their thing without rehearsing. A classical pianist, a dancer, an actor, all of these humans would have prepared intensely so that that content becomes a part of them. So that they know what they are going to say, /do, /sing, /play, whatever, dance, so that they know what they're going to do from the inside out, literally on a cellular level. It's this level of preparation, ladies and gentlemen, that makes you available, that makes you able to be present, because you don't have to strain and drain your resources thinking about, oh, what was it I was going to say? I don't remember it. When you strain and drain, you go into tension. You hold your breath and you do all the things that make you not present. So this preparation is the key to opening your presence. Ooh, I wanted to say your preparation is your key to opening the present. Ooh, doesn't that sound better? There's me being a little metaphorical on you. Opening the present, gifting. When you are prepared, you are giving of yourself much more than if you're not prepared. And you know what this feels like. Oh, yes, you do. You know what it feels like to be ready for something. Take it back to your school days when you got ready for that exam and you went into to that exam room with your pencils sharpened, your water bottle at the ready, and you were ready. You're like, give it to me. And then the paper is put on the table in front of you. You got your pencil out and you go. That's what it should feel like in a good speaking opportunity. Give it to me. I'm ready. I'm prepared. Yeah? So that state of readiness comes from repetition through rehearsal. That's what the R stands for. Rehearsing, doing it over and over and over again until it feels like it's a part of you. And you know that it's ready when you don't need to think about what you say. It's like when you're learning a language and one day you're sitting in a cafe and you are talking to somebody in that language you're learning and man, you are straining. Every cell in your body is working to remember the grammar. And after that interaction, you have a headache and you want to go lie down. But then a couple of weeks or months later, when you've kept working on this language, there you are, maybe in that same cafe with somebody else, and the language that you've been working on is just flowing out of you. Has that ever happened? It's just coming. There's no headache. There's no pain and suffering tax. It's all there because you've rehearsed it. You've repeated it. You've learned it. Folks, that's what good speaking should feel like. It should just flow out of you. And yeah, there's a lot of sweat equity. Oh, yes, yes, yes. There is no free sandwich, as I say. It's work, but it's through that work that you get ready. It's through that rehearsal that you can be present, that you can give of yourself, that you can serve your audiences from that best place inside of you. So, are you with me so far? We are going down through the letters C-A-R-E to discover what it takes to build community through communication. Because you and I both know that the world needs a lot more leaders who can care about their peers, teams, stakeholders, and customers, don't we? The world's a messy place right now. And the people in work-life environments are yearning for you to show up in a way that supports them, that makes them heard, seen, and have the feeling of being valued. And through this little care formula, I'm sharing ways for you to make that happen in your communities. So let's go to our last letter now of the word care. E. The E stands for engagement. Because a secret sauce of effective communication is to make everything that you say a dialogue, not a monologue. This really is a superpower in and of itself. And there isn't a talk that I give where I don't do this. It's kind of like my superpower as a speaker, which is why I'm sharing it with you here, so that you can have some of it too, and it can rub off on you in the very best way. To engage with your audiences takes the pressure off. It opens things. It invites interaction. And when you have this interaction, people respond. Because in the very best case scenario, your presentation is a conversation. It is not a monologue, it's a dialogue. It's a back and forth. It's a dance. You talk a little bit about something, and then they respond and maybe give an answer or participate somehow. And you talk some more, you see, back and forth. And by the way, it's not necessarily that your audience is doing a lot of talking when they are in their response time, but it's maybe that they are doing something participatory. Maybe they're engaging in something that you're offering them to do, raising their hands, writing notes, thinking, reflecting, right? That's the dialogue part. So it doesn't mean that you're saying something and they give an answer necessarily. That's kind of a one-dimensional way to think about this. I want you to expand that thinking, 3D. Think of different ways to engage with your audience. Think about ways that you can enhance how you communicate your message. What are your visual aids? Please think about something other than using PowerPoint, for example. Can you draw something on a flip chart? Can you pass something around that people hold and use their senses to interact with, right? People love that. Can you ask them a question or give them a problem or a challenge that they need to solve? You see, there are many ways to engage with your audience. So I want to invite you to think this way about what you can do to create this, in quotations, dialogue with your audiences, to bring it into the room, this conversational tone, this two-way street. Okay? So, wow, we've come a long way. We've gone through the C, the A, the R, and the E of what you can do to build community through communication. I want to invite you to go out there and try some of this stuff out. And you know what? As with all of my teaching, I want to tell you this thing so you're not worried. I don't expect you to go out and do all of the stuff that I teach you all at once. That would be pretty crazy. And it wouldn't work. It's too much information, TMI. What I want you to do is I want you to try one thing at a time. Literally, for each speaking opportunity that you have, try one thing. In this speaking opportunity, for example, I'm going to warm up first and hit the C, the C of care, so that I can be present with my audience. Or in this next presentation that I'm going to give in my online meeting with my team, I'm going to find ways to engage with them using the E of the word care. Yeah, building community through engagement. And I want you to watch what happens when this goes down. I want you to feel it because it's going to be electrifying. It's going to do something that wasn't there before. You're creating energy. You're creating sparks. And here's the best part of it all. You are supporting the people that you are talking to use their communication instruments the way they are designed. And you are using yours the way it is designed. And when you work inside of the design, guess what? It works. So that's my invitation for you, to try these things that I share with you out one at a time, not feeling overwhelmed, not thinking, oh, it's too much, too much hot air. I feel tired. No, it's not going to work. No, one thing at a time. And you know what goes with this, don't you? Which is that in order to be trying these things out, you are saying yes to every speaking opportunity that comes your way, because it is in those opportunities that you get to practice. Yeah, that you get to try all this stuff out, one thing at a time, one talk at a time. So say yes. And if I can add something else, be greedy and create your own speaking opportunities. Why not? If you have an idea, I want to be on a podcast, go on a podcast. Or I want to deliver the staff meeting this week. Or whatever it is, create more opportunities for you to speak, because each of those opportunities is an opportunity for you to get better at communicating. And when you get better at communicating, you get better at building community. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my message for today. Take it and run. Go with it. Try it out. And as ever, communicate with me and tell me how it's going. I would love to hear from you. So let me wrap up this show, shall I? I hope that you've enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed delivering it. Subscribe now to the Leadership Speaking Radio podcast to be sure not to miss an episode. And don't forget to visit the website, www.theleadershipspeakingschool.com, to learn more about how we can support you to show up as the best version of yourself every time that you communicate with your peers, teams, and customers. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your ears and your attention. I want to wish you a wonderful adventure and journey in using some of the tools that I shared with you here today. And I look forward to hearing from you to hear how it all went. All right, that's all for now. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.